Yes, I'm John Darrow. I grew up in Mount Shasta, and I have a lot of local connections to the area, so that's part of what brings me back here. So one is thank you for having me here. It's a fun opportunity for me to reflect back on where I came from, kind of my journey, and then, as mentioned, I've been at Amazon for 21 years now, which is quite a ride. And I'm hoping just to share with you my own personal experience and perspective of kind of what I've seen in that time. I kind of get an insider view of a lot of the change that's going on in the world, both in the engineering, technology, but then interestingly now, a lot of the domains that are intersecting with people. And, my role as a technologist, from Mount Shasta, I went down to Santa Cruz and studied physics and didn't know what I was going to do for a while, but then ended up, World Wide Web became a thing, and I developed web pages, and then there was this bookstore that wanted a website to sell books. And so that kind of took me into this path that, again, has been kind of an intense, interesting, and fascinating journey. I never imagined that I would kind of end up doing the things that I'm doing today, but it's really nice to be able to share some of that perspective with you. So, at any rate, so the title that I decided to throw onto this rambling that I'm going to do for you today is Technology Transitions in People. Again, my role as a technologist, I sort of lead groups of engineers and hardware, software, machine learning, data scientists who are building mostly these days, mostly systems that interface with what we call operations. So this is like the physical side of Amazon, so our fulfillment centers, our warehouses, all the inventory systems, the upstream supply chains that we buy from and sellers contribute to ship product into our buildings. We have lots of automation, robotics, but a lot of people who do stuff with that inventory. We ship things on trucks to sort centers. We now have delivery stations. We now have delivery providers who will drop boxes off at your door. So it's a lot of these systems that are out in the real world, interfacing with real people. And the fascinating thing for me is, even though, again, I'm an engineer, most of the problems and changes and interesting opportunities that I see in front of us have to do with the interfacing of that technology with the people. What roles are people doing? What do we need them to do? What do we want them to do? What do they want to do? And how do we bridge all that kind of architecture as well as the architecture so that ultimately this is a good thing for all of us? So from there, I'll go forward. I did some of my introduction already, but my official title is Senior Principal Engineer. But again, our group has about 2,500 people building technology for operations. So a lot of inventory management systems. You can see some shots of some of our buildings, some of the people that I work with. We build mobile apps, tablet apps, web apps. We build systems that integrate with robots and conveyor systems, a lot of sensor and camera systems that and RFID readers that scan material, allow the people to interact with these systems and do their work safely at scale, load trucks, deliver trucks, drive trucks, figure out how to route things efficiently. There's all sorts of interesting things there. I didn't spend all my time at Amazon in this field. Again, the first 10 years or so, I was an engineer building the website, the customer systems, kind of the core, what you think of as old school Amazon. But over time, I became very interested with a physics background in mathematical modeling, data science, and then machine learning became the new cool. How do we do computer vision and sensor fusion and some other things to do more than just write code and apps? We want to process large amounts of data to make it easy for people to operate at a massive scale as efficiently as possible. So with that, I'll jump forward. Stepping back a little bit, things have changed a lot since I was a kid. In Mount Shasta, there were no record stores. I liked music a lot. The only way to get music was to drive to Reading or maybe Ashland or something where they actually had record stores, or you could buy stuff, not quite online, but from the TV. The interesting thing here is if you wanted to buy something, there was always two hidden things in here that are interesting, that intersected with what I've spent the last 20 years working on. We have the $2 postage and handling fee, and then we have a service level, which is 4 to 6 weeks to get something delivered. And so if you live in a rural community and you want something that you can't get at your local store, one, you have to pay postage and handling, which maybe $2 is very reasonable, unless you're 12 years old. The 4 to 6 weeks of delivery, though, is kind of a really killer, right? Who wants to wait that long? I fast forward to today, and my daughter doesn't understand this experience at all. She'll order anything she wants from all the selection in the world and gets a box within 2 days later, and she's very happy, right? And she doesn't understand any of this stuff, but it's only been 30 years that the world has transitioned from where I grew up to where she's growing up, and her awareness of what a global supply chain means and what selection is available to her wherever she's going to live, and at a price point that's surprisingly reasonable. All that has shifted and changed pretty dramatically. Again, 1980, 4 to 6 weeks, $2. 98, Amazon sort of arrived on the picture, which basically brought this massive selection available to everyone. So you can get most anything in 1 to 2 weeks, maybe for $2, maybe more, depending. 2002, we got to a scale at which we could really start optimizing through data and resource allocation systems that operated at a kind of massive scale so that we could get it down to more or less free. Still took about 2 weeks to do stuff. Then we launched Prime in 2004. There's a subscription fee, but at the same time you get all-you-can-eat shipping. And then we started focusing on that time, the time that it takes for a supply chain to move stuff from producers to consumers. And this has really been the key thing that I think has changed with technology, data, and frankly all the systems and stuff that's happened over the last 20 years is now, not everywhere, but in a lot of metro cities, you can get stuff for 2 hours for free, 1 hour for $8. I realize Prime Now probably isn't in Bedford yet, but it is in Portland, and as we go forward the next few years, this will be an increasing capability offered not just by Amazon, but by every major retailer that's operating in your local area through, in part, the systems, the data analytics, and again, this globally connected supply chain that's all being automated and systematically integrated into not just Amazon, but lots of other companies and businesses. So, what's enabling this kind of change? Here's a big slide from Wikipedia. Technology transition has kind of long wave cycles, short wave cycles. The long waves are pretty obvious: Industrial Revolution, steam power, steel, blah, blah. Now we're in the information age. Computers, right, and data and computer processing, commoditizing that to the point where we all now get to use it. But now in the information age, there's these hyper-disruptive short waves that are happening. So again, the PC came about in the 80s. Some huge companies emerged from that: Microsoft, Apple, Intel. In the 90s, about when I came on the scene, and Amazon, AOL, I don't know if you remember them, Yahoo, I don't know if you remember them, but Amazon, Google, like a lot of these internet companies that exist, these technology companies were born of that era, mostly by the fact that now data can be communicated seamlessly and systematically across all people and businesses and whatever else. The mobile transition was a huge one, 15 years ago, which is still playing out as we all carry around the power of a supercomputer in our pocket, which is always connected, always available for us to interact with the data plane as well as the physical plane. And then now cloud computing. Looking forward, though, the other emerging things are the Internet of Things, or the Industrial Internet of Things, which are connecting not just our phones, but all of our devices, putting little chips in everything so that everything can be connected and we have data coming from everywhere. And that allows us to not only understand what's going on, but also start controlling it. And this is where fields like AI, which is an overloaded term, but really machine learning, autonomy, and other kind of like real-time control systems can start really changing the commoditization of how things are done. You don't need experts or big expensive systems to do things. Any high school or millennial or college student can go get some stuff, plumb it all together, and then do kind of magical things. So that were not possible a few years ago. Why does this happen? This might be obvious to anyone who follows technology in the room, but there's this thing called Moore's Law, where computing power is growing exponentially. So a logarithmic scale since 1971 into today, basically, computers get faster and faster and more powerful. We can process more data cheaply with less power anywhere. We can carry it around in our pocket. The other side, the cost of data, storing data, transmitting data, is going down also exponentially, which just means that we have data everywhere and compute power everywhere, which we can use to pretty much transform everything that's happening. Interestingly, though, connecting that, so we have all this compute power, data processing power, integrated data everywhere, but not all tech companies are growing with people. So this is an interesting slide that basically says Amazon, unlike some other tech companies, continues to grow in the people that we employ to do stuff. And in part, this is our physical footprint. At the end of the day, even as we add robots and automation and globally connected supply chain and whatnot, we still need people everywhere in local markets, in buildings, on trucks, figuring everything out, because the computers will never be smart enough to solve the final mile part of the equation. The people who intersect with Amazon operate at several layers, the first of which is all our corporate employees. We have a lot of different types of jobs. This is getting more complicated every year. When I started with the company, we had 25 software engineers and 75 corporate folks. Now we have, 50, 60,000, whatever the number is, of corporate employees, plus another many hundreds of thousands of operations, plus beyond that. And some of the things that the people that we employ now is very surprising. It's like TV producers, Amazon Studios making videos, authors, people in the publishing industry, a lot of artists like doing merchandising and advertising, a lot of regional analytics and connecting stuff and for customers, product managers who understand what customers want and how to interface with them and connect all this stuff together. At the end of the day, though, there's a lot of people. That's, again, my central thesis here. There's a lot of people who are more connected, doing something that's big, transformative, and hopefully important. On the physical footprint side, again, the operations side of Amazon, we have about 150, it's a little outdated slide, but of our really big fulfillment centers, these are the big warehouses that store $100 billion worth of inventory that we move around the world. We have many sort centers. These are where trucks can arrive, sort packages, more trucks can leave, basically creating a logistics network that can move stuff anywhere around the world. We're in many countries. There's lots of square feet of real estate and concrete and all that stuff we have to do, along with a lot of employees. And this 500,000 plus employees, we've been growing very fast, so you can extrapolate that into, we depend on millions of employees ultimately at the end of the day. And, of course, acquiring labor and managing labor is one of the hardest things one of the biggest challenges, existential challenges that we have. You may have heard in the last, I don't know when it was recently, but we changed the minimum wage for our kind of associates to $15 like everywhere globally. That had a huge impact. That like doubled the application rate of people applying for these jobs, which is great. Now suddenly we have that many more people willing to do that kind of labor. At the same time, labor is still a very scarce resource. Going wherever the talent is and wherever the people are who want to do the work is as critical to us as the power of the technology that we're harnessing. So it's an important part of the equation of going forward. Beyond that, there's a lot of other people involved in this ecosystem. Some of you may know this, but just the buying customer. Probably some of you have bought some stuff on Amazon. There's over 300 million of you. Hopefully it's mostly good. But that's part of the premise, is serving our 300 million customers who are tapping into this commoditized global supply chain, so you can get anything you want wherever you are in the world at in a reasonable time frame at a reasonable price point. Increasingly, though, the other side of that supply chain are the brand owners, the product producers, the manufacturers and the sellers and the distributors. When I first started with the company, we had one distributor, which was Ingram Books, which is up in Roseburg. They had all the books that we might put in our catalog, and every day a truck would drive from Roseburg up to Seattle so we could get all our stuff and send it on its way. Now we have over 5 million vendors and sellers. 1 million of those sellers are actually small and incorporated businesses. So, they are producing their own products, they're managing their own brands, they're merchandising to their own customers on this platform. So it's not just Amazon selling to customers, it's lots and lots of these folks. And then, of course, there's the cloud computing side where, we offer a lot of compute and data and computing services there. So that's a huge new segment, which I'll skip with that. All right, so technology is changing. And one question we often get is who's winning? And like the primary thing that we always talk about is we're a customer-centric company. Customers should always win first. You will always have the cheapest, highest quality, timely experience. Hopefully that's true. We do everything we can to make that true as we continue to scale up. But beyond that, there's all the other players in the ecosystem, which as we think about new small businesses and who we're partnering with and where we want the growth of capabilities and selection and everything to come from, that includes brand owners, product developers. These are people everywhere in the world who have some unique idea of some product that they want to do. It's easier than ever to develop a product, have it produced, fabricated, manufactured by a lot of different other companies, injected in the supply chain and start selling it, and you don't actually have to physically build your products anymore. So there's a lot of these brand owners, content, and then content producers, this on the digital side, people doing, authors and making TV shows and movies and audio and all that other stuff. Merchandisers, this is advertising, retailers selling stuff, product and system developers, I talked about that, but also data scientists. There's an increasing space around the IP of data analytics and machine learning models and how to extract meaningful information out of the noisy data that exists all over the world. And then operators. So again, this is my immediate domain. There's a lot of people doing a lot of physical operations with millions of delivery drivers, millions of associates, hundreds of thousands of truck drivers, just moving all the physical stuff in the world. And that's like a increasingly challenging thing, especially as customers don't want to drive to stores anymore. They want everything to come all the way to their house. So really, a lot of that operational physical work is displacing the fact that customers don't want to drive to the mall anymore. So, all right. So I'm going to move quickly, but I also want to open up to any questions at the end. But as I think about who are the people who I work with, who I love working with, and who I feel like are successful in the face of all this change, where it's not obvious what job needs to be done. We know we have all these challenges. We know the technology is changing. The world is changing. How do we think about who can come work on our team and succeed in the face of all that change? This is, again, my own kind of mental framework for trying to make some sense of that. So I'm going to share it with you. But the basic premise is we need people who are wicked smart and also lucky. And I like to think of myself as somewhat smart and mostly lucky. It's worked out so far. But the premise behind this goes down to there are a lot of traditional companies that have been successful for a long time, just continuing what they do. Like they're experts in the field. They don't take a lot of risks. They don't try out new things, but they do something really well, and they keep growing and keep going. There's a lot of employees who work for those companies who will have 20, 30 years, 40-year careers, mostly doing the same thing, advancing in the ranks, and that's cool. but it's also very traditional. In the startup world, in the technology sphere, folks who expect things to stay the same every year after year often get very frustrated and have a hard time adapting to environments like that. I count the environment I have worked in 21 years as a fascinating, fun, also frustrating, and very challenging environment where the people who succeed are very resilient to change and can adapt. And so this is what I'm calling smart. People who have careers that don't necessarily go up in a continuous up and to the right curve. They take risks, they have some failures, they go up and down, but mostly at the end of their career, they've gone up a lot more than they've gone down. And those are the type of people we need to embrace change, take risks, jump into things, figure it out, whatever it takes, and get stuff done. All right, so when you think about, I'm interviewing someone, who do I want to hire? A traditional company might want to hire someone because they hit the ground running, they have the right education, the credentials, the experience to do the specific job I have in mind that I want them to go do so I don't have to do it. But rather than wanting someone who can start the job tomorrow, you could also hire someone who just demonstrates potential, right? Has high analytical skills, learning agility, shows that, well, it might take them a little while to figure out what to do, but you might trust that they will figure it out because, they have problem-solving skills and some experience or aptitude for, like, navigating the ambiguity. Also, of course, we want to hire people who are right a lot, but in traditional companies, that might mean that I will hire people who are right because they agree with what I know and what I think is right. That might be cool. Where is that? All right. On the other hand, like hiring a smart candidate means that they may not agree with me. I might think they're stupid. I might think that they don't know what they're talking about because I've been doing this for 21 years, and who are you to show up and tell me that I might be wrong about something? But at the same time, it's important to work with people who challenge you, who might play the devil's advocate role, are less worried about social cohesion than about the exploration and the journey of discovering what needs to happen next. And so, again, like one of the worst things you can do is end up in a meeting where everyone agrees with you, because probably you haven't advanced the thought of the group at all, or maybe even the solution that you're going to embark upon at all. So, question social cohesion, at the same time be nice. That's, no one likes working with some of those folks. Anyway, also, you don't want simple executors, right? There's some people who are great at taking instructions and then executing. You should be suspicious around that. If they just are waiting for orders, then the problem is, in order to scale, you have to tell everyone what to do all the time. That becomes really difficult. And ultimately it leads to they will do no more than what you tell them to do, which is the path to mediocrity. So be wary of that. Instead, if you're going to hire smart and analytical people, they should challenge our ideas and basically figure out how to grow. You can't grow by yourself. No leader is going to be smart enough to grow the company or the project or whatever 10x from where they started out today. So you're going to have the input of lots of different diverse voices, perspectives in order to figure out how to make step function changes. So those are kind of some of the key aspects. When I talk about wicked, smart, and lucky, really what I mean there is there's choices that we make, and these are the qualities of people that I feel make them lucky at the end of the day. And these are not things that you're born with, these are gifts. Gifts are the thing you're born with. Choices are the things that you learn along the way that make you a lucky person. You make friends, you hear about opportunities, you decide to take risks, you're not afraid of things. And then, of course, we also need people who are just have the raw horsepower to figure things out. And usually you can't train that, you can't coach that. They have to come to the table with that in the first place, so they're probably born with it. So figuring out how to recognize, again, the gifts that people have that they're born with, and then the things that you can coach, train, work with, and develop is important. Going through these in a little bit more detail, some of the things you can coach in your employees or in the people who work with you is to become more approachable, more transparent, not be afraid of hoarding information, sharing, even when they don't know what they're talking about or they might be wrong. But you should strive to be approachable and transparent and not hiding things from your coworkers so that the entire group ends up being successful in moving forward. Also, just enthusiasm. No one likes a Debbie Downer, right? Positivity, even though it sounds a little like Mount Shasta New Agey, it's infectious to work with enthusiastic people. Also, respectful, considerate, kindness. There's plenty smart engineers out there that I've worked with who I would not want to hang out with socially. They are rude, they are egotistical, whatever else I might say about them. But as smart as they are, people want to work with respectful, kind, considerate people who pay attention and who can build teams successfully and work together to do bigger things than any one individual can do themselves. Humble and sincerity. None of us are perfect. None of us have mastered the universe. So you should go into every situation understanding that even though I might have the most depth of expertise in this field, and everyone else in the room doesn't know as much as I am, at the same time, I might be wrong about some things. I have to be open and willing to address my own failings and opportunities for growth. And also trustworthy and reliability. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're not going to do it, don't say you're going to do it. All that kind of basic stuff. But again, these are all things that can be developed. A lot of people have had mentors through the years who have taught them. They have parents, they have teachers, schools, they have prior work experience where they have developed a skill set to interact with people, build teamwork, contribute to a team, and also be willing for themselves to change and grow to become successful. So again, these are all the things that make someone a lucky person. Again, moving into the smart side though, clever and wit, like some people either have it or they don't. You just have to, it's kind of like raw horsepower. You're technically knowledgeable and interpersonally astute, being aware of what's going on, being self-aware, being group-aware, having the ability to rise outside of your own mind and understand the larger picture of what's going on is something that's just one of these core things that people either can do or they can't. You're probably not going to be able to teach that to anyone. Creativity and imagination. Again, you can execute the process all day long. You will never reinvent the new process without somehow reinventing it. So I'll leave it at that. And then finally, all right, here's a bunch of random pictures. How much time do I actually have left? I don't really have a sense of the time. Oh, right there, 3 minutes. Okay. There it is. I was looking on the wrong side of the room. Okay. So that whole little section of my talk was wicked, smart, and lucky. Again, these are the types of people and also ways that if you're hiring employees and working with people, there are things you can train, you can coach to make an agile, smart, disruptive company or team or project, whatever it is. There are other things that you're just going to have to hard filter out from the very beginning when you employ people or decide you're going to work with people or build your team. I'll leave it at that. I had other kind of random, I don't know why it's doing that, stuff, but I guess I have 2 minutes left. So any questions or other stuff I can talk about
4 years ago,
since I'm here? Oh, sure. Yeah, the drones are cool. They're also taking a long time because building a drone is possible. Building 1 million of them is really hard. Also, there's legal and safety issues and all that stuff that has to be worked out. So honestly, I don't have much to say about the drones, right? Drones are autonomous vehicles. of all types are here, and that is because machine learning, computer vision, sensor fusion, all these things are now at a point where we can fit that into a small little vehicle. You may have seen last week, I think, we announced our Scout sidewalk robot, which is kind of like a drone on the sidewalk that can navigate through your neighborhood and, you know, wait outside your house for you to show up and give you your box. It's like, kind of like a mailbox that comes to you. But at any rate, like, these autonomous vehicles are here. They're cool. There's probably niche places where they will start showing up soon, but ultimately, Amazon customers had 20 billion boxes delivered last year, like with a B. So, like, it's going to be a while before there's drone capacity that can even, like, begin to handle any of that, any of it seriously. So, like, to do 10 billion boxes, like, delivered to 10 billion customers, well, some of you order multiple times, but the only way to do that is in batches that are optimized for route density, volume density, cubic utilization of the vehicle. So you want trucks, you want trains, you want boats, you want large shipping containers, all this stuff in order to move that much stuff. So if we have to move one drone, can carry one box, and then we have to do billions of those, that's, So I think that's always going to be a niche thing. At the same time, it is cool, and maybe a drone can come to your house in 10 minutes, and that'll be cool. Yeah, sorry. Right. So even just like 5 years ago, I would say more software engineers. Now that's actually less true. I mean, we absolutely want more software engineers, but I'll qualify that as saying we want more software engineers who understand why anyone wants them to build software, because we're also getting a lot of people who want to write code but don't really care about why the code exists. So being able to connect that to a business model or a customer experience, or people who are working down all the way through the whole end-to-end value proposition is more important now than being able to write code. Because truthfully, any smart person can sit down for 3 to 6 months and figure out how to write some code. The hard thing is being able to understand what opportunities exist to make a customer experience way better, and then to figure out where to put something using data systems, whatever it is, UIs, user experiences, to make that better. The other thing, it's not just about software anymore. Data science, so computer vision, any kind of data analytics, statistics, all that sort of stuff, like, that exists above the data and the compute layers and into let's turn this into meaningful information that allows humans to make decisions. That's becoming more important than ever. There's more data than we know what to do with now. The problem is being able to turn that into meaningful information is very hard. And so it turns out you need economists, we need data scientists of all sorts to figure out what that means. There's probably some other answers there, but yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So in the interest of frictionless commerce, voice technology looks like it's emerging again in a very powerful way. I mean, 100 years ago it was radio, right? But we've moved in a quantum leap past that. And time is our most valuable asset. And so I'm curious what the trend is toward using voice to access Amazon to order products. How fast is it growing? How necessary is it for a producer like myself I make a salsa, we ship nationwide. How important is it for us to develop a skill for something like Alexa, order my salsa? And what are sales are trending, or the use of that kind of a product? How is that developing?
Yeah, so voice is this whole new sphere, right? Like, not everyone can look at these little screens and interact with stuff. Alexa is growing extremely fast. It's also super competitive with Google Assistant, and well, pretty much those are the two. I mean, there's some others, but I mean, sorry, Apple Series, all right, but it's not quite keeping up. So it's a lot of people don't care about voice interaction, but then some people really do. So like blind customers, there's a whole segment people, basically older folks who have to put on their reading glasses anytime they do anything in these little tiny screens. Frankly, they love voice apps, right? They can say, I want to watch a TV show, and it'll say, oh, which episode of Game of Thrones you want, and you can do the whole experience that way. You don't have to find a remote and find the buttons and stuff, and so that's good. Also, on the ordering front, blind customers ordering via voice is a huge life changer for what are millions of people, in the U.S. And so, there are certain customer demographics that if you can tap into them, you might now suddenly have 2 million new customers, right? Who, because voice ordering or salsa is somehow way more powerful than whatever other else experience they can get. The other thing voice is actually turning out to be pretty interesting for is recipes. Some people they ask Alexa to help them make lasagna, and then Alexa will walk you through that, right? And then if you have any of the ones that have screens too, it'll show images or videos, but also just talk you through it, and you can follow the voice prompts while you're working in the kitchen. So people really like apps like that. Yeah.
Is that something we want to look at within the next 18 months to 24 months, or are we looking at 40 to 60 months before we really need to have something like that?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not an expert in all this, but I think it's still a little bit fringe, right? Like voice shopping, these voice skills are here. Voice UIs are very real and growing fast. At the same time, it's not as widely adopted that if you were to develop your skill, you'd probably see a huge return on investment, in the near future. You can probably afford to wait some time. It's not like you're going to lose much waiting a little bit. But
question over here.
But the whole voice thing is super interesting, right? There are certain experiences where it nails it perfectly.
Just shout it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hot topic. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer, but the climate change is happening. I think everyone, including companies like Amazon, and all have to take stock of where we are, what we're doing, and do the right thing. Again, it's very complicated. I do think though, Amazon, because we have so much data and we're very disciplined about measuring everything, optimizing everything, getting costs down across the board, I'm sure we don't have any numbers to share, but everything we do is hyper focused on resource optimization and cost control, right? And so one of the nice benefits of that is we use our logistics capacity, our trucks, our boats, our planes, our delivery routes, the miles driven per delivery driver, as efficiently as we possibly can. So in many of those ways, we are as efficient as we possibly can be. The larger existential question is that good enough, right? And I'm sure there's some room for improvement, but the nice thing is that if you are as hyper-focused and disciplined about efficiency as we tend to be, it's hard to argue that you're doing the wrong thing, right, on that front. So,
Thank you, John.
all right. Yeah, no, thank you all for listening to me.